Hello. So, it is time to join us for UBL Season 10. Oh my god, I can't believe we've been here for 10 seasons of this. But we're here, and we're starting actually on the rule page because, it kind of makes sense to. So yeah, 10th season of the UBL. Back at it with some more VGC. We've got some of your favourites coming back. Some new faces as well. And I'm excited. This is going to be my draft breakdown. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Winder. I have been doing draft content on and off on here now for like 3 years. Doing 3 years? Oh my god. It's like 3 years this September, jeez. But yeah, so yeah, let's not waste any more time and actually explain the rules for this time. Because this time we're doing Regulation D. The format that at this point has been out for about like 3 weeks. And the one that they're using at Worlds, which means all the Pokemon from Pokemon Home are in. It means all the Hisuiemons, and all the Pokemon that you can transfer over from Legends Arceus. Which includes some pretty powerful stuff, such as the Genies. A lot of the Gen 4 legendaries are really powerful. And a lot of Gen 4 Pokemon that actually come over are still pretty good. But also, things like, let me just try and do... no, that seems still fine. Okay. I'm also going to turn this down slightly. There we go. So yeah. Yeah, it was a bit loud on my end. I couldn't hear myself speak. So, yeah, Regulation D is going to be the format. 9 to 11 picks, as it says up here, and 110 points. And then a big one is we are actually finally implementing a Tera rule. Which is great, because honestly, I like Tera, but the last 2 seasons of the UBL and SBS have shown me that some mons are broken with Tera, and it becomes a Tera mind game, and it's not fun, and I don't like it. So, our rule is over here. Each coach can allow up to 3 Pokemon to Terastallize that can turn into any type, but they are mid to low tier Pokemon. They're only Pokemon that cost 12 points or below. So, the draft was balanced around that, because I helped actually make the draft board this time. And also, coaches have a cap on the amount of points they can spend on Pokemon that can Tera. So, for instance, if they pick a Pokemon that's worth 12 points, and they want to Tera it, that costs 12 of their 25 Tera points. This just prevents you from picking 3 12-point Pokemon and then having all of them Tera. It just means that you've got to be a bit more mindful of what you can Tera. You can Tera 2 good Pokemon and then one pointer. Or you can Tera something out. Or you can do 3 low tier mons, 3 8 pointers. Yeah, 8 pointers works. But all of them can be Tera'd. So all of them, they give us it gives the less good Pokemon a chance to shine, instead of it just being rely on the top end. And from what we've seen from drafts tend to be top end anyway, so making the top end better is kind of bad. It just makes that drafts are more well-rounded, which I do like drafts being well-rounded. So, my draft. I'm excited but nervous to use it, because there's a very strange style of draft for me. I really like it, so let's get into it. So, for me, I was 5th pick overall. Which, there's 10 coaches, so I'm slap bang in the middle, and I'm like, great, that's wonderful, I hate everything. So initially I didn't make any plans. because I had no idea what was going to end up at me. Unsurprisingly, things like Fluttermane and Chi-Yu were gone immediately. But one Pokemon wasn't, and in preparation for this, we did some test drafts, just to see, just to make sure the tier list was fine. And one of the Pokemon I ended up basing one of my teams around, was still available, and I was like, I haven't used this one in VGC Draft. I want to use it. And it might actually still be it might have been a bit overpriced, honestly, just because it can't Tera, and some Pokemon we did kind of, I think, misjudge just because they couldn't Tera. This being one of them, but I still am really excited to use it. And that is Regieleki. Oh, I love Aleki so much. Those who have been around for a while know I love this Pokemon. When this thing was revealed, I was like, this Pokemon's going to be insane in VGC, and it did not disappoint. Having the highest speed stat in the game, as well as, even though it's nerfed Transistor, which is still, instead of it being a Choice Specs boost, it's now a Life Orb boost, oh no. It's still going to do really good damage. The bulk isn't insane, but you see that uninvested speed stat? That still outspeeds, like, Iron Bundle. Like, there are things now that can get faster than it, more reliably, things like Booster Energy Iron Bundle with speed. That is a thing, same with Fluttermane, but that is commitment, to outspeed the Aleki. And then what, I'm just going to run a Focus Sash? Cool, grand. Also, Aleki can be bulky, because if you don't need to invest in speed, you can just invest in the defenses, and suddenly those defenses make a big difference. Not only that, like I say, it does great damage with Thunderbolt and Volt Switch. It also gives me immediate speed control in Electro Web, and a great form of speed control at that. As well as screens. Screens are really nice. Means that I can make my team nice and bulky. So it can be a supportive Pokemon, it can be an offensive Pokemon, I can just run Choice Specs, I can run Magnet, I can run Sash and just Sash lead with it. Eerie Impulse, great form of damage control as well. Which is not something like a lot of Pokemon really can access. Potential Electro Ball stuff, because nuking things is fun. It doesn't have a lot of versatility, and one of the things that would make it, like, broken beyond belief is Tera. But we don't have access to Tera for Aleki, which is why it might be a little overpriced, but it's still really strong. It can still do a ton of damage, it can still speed control, it can still screens, it still has a lot of options. So, while it probably wasn't a great first pick, like, in hindsight, it's still a really strong Pokemon, and versatile in the sense that it can go supportive or it can go offensive. And it's super versatile in building as well, because I can be like, cool, they have nothing that can realistically be faster than Aleki, sick, I'm just gonna bulk this thing out. Or I can just, like, you know, go Sash or something out. There's options with Aleki, and that's what I like. It also gives me something really nice to just build around. Aleki's just a build-around Pokemon, because step 1, pick Aleki. Step 2, pick things that beat ground types. That's what you do. And in the test draft, that's what I did. Unfortunately, the Pokemon I wanted to pair with it went pretty early, and that is Rillaboom. I wanted Rillaboom, gave Fake Out, grassy terrain is great to support Aleki, but yeah, Rillaboom went before it could come back to me. So, no Rillaboom. So I was looking at, you know, the main 3 types that I want is a good Water type, a good Grass type, and a good Ice type. One of them can be middling to lower, but ideally I at least need 2 of those 3 in the top end. So I was looking at what was kind of up and around that range, and a Pokemon stuck out to me that a friend of mine, Kathy, actually ended up using to win the league last season. And I was like, well, it gives support, but also can do a lot of damage. So yeah, let's go for it, and that is Brute Bonnet. So we have our grass type, which is brilliant. So Brute Bonnet, the Among Us clone. So this, instead of Grass Poison, it's Grass Dark. Generally thought to be a little bit less useful, but it has its uses over Among Us. It's less bulky, and obviously doesn't have Regenerator, and it's slower. And it's faster, which in some circumstances is good, but also not. At least gives me something with Photosynthesis, which is nice, so I can just use Booster Energy. You can Booster Energy, like, attack or defense. You can't get speed, it's impossible to get speed. They literally made it impossible, I believe. So if you make it Timid, and then 0, they made it purposely so you cannot get a booster speed with this Pokemon, which is really funny. But it's still really solid. The bulk is pretty reasonable. It can usually take 1 or 2 hits. Not being able to Terror it's a bit unfortunate because it means it just dies to bulk moves. But like, bulk moves aren't the most common unless you're facing something with U-turn, and even then, like, most uninvested U-turns aren't going to kill. But it gets really good coverage, both on the physical and surprisingly the special side. Its special attack is not great, let's be realistic, but like, the fact that it gets Earth Power is kind of cool. Again, this is a Pokemon that can go offensive or supportive, because of, you know, getting Among Us things like Rage Powder and Pollen Puff. It also can go offensive with things like either Seed Bomb or Loaded Dice Bullet Seed, alongside Sucker Punch / Crunch, Close Combat, Clear Smog's great utility, Spore, obviously I can't really ignore Spore, Spore's great. You could Trailblaze to make it fast, Taunt's decent for some Trick Room stuff, let's see, that's kind of about it really. But it's still super solid Pokemon. It's decently bulky, and especially with screens it could be very bulky. Like, you can't really go wrong with, like, basically 110, 100, 100. Like, that's still really solid. And you could do pretty decent damage with it as well. There's like I say, there's the option to go offensive or supportive with it. And with my first 2 picks being, like, that supportive of each other, that's really nice. And, you know, if I really want to go fast, then, you know, I can still go, like, Jolly, and then Electro Web something, and I think I could get faster than, like, maybe base 100s. So, it's something. It's not great, but it's something. So, I'm excited to use Brute Bonnet. You know, I've used Alecki in singles, but I haven't used it in doubles draft in VGC. I've not used Brute Bonnet, so I'm excited to use both of these. These are 2 Pokemon I have not used in VGC draft, so I'm pretty excited about it. Might be able to do some cute things. We'll see. We'll see for sure. As the draft went back up to me, I experienced the second and kind of big main snipe for me, which is funny because the snipe was Inteleon. I actually really wanted Inteleon because it was something that could Tera. And I was like, cool, this will be great. But unfortunately, Canna sniped it from me. So I had to rearrange my draft, and after this point, once I got my draft rearranged, I didn't get sniped anymore. So there was the Rillaboom snipe, which I was like okay with because I kind of was able to recover pretty quickly. The Inteleon snipe, it took a bit more to actually recover from that. But there was a Pokemon I did want once I kind of figured out my draft and got everything set up. Like, because you know me, I love to plan my drafts and actually make sure I know what I'm doing. Because otherwise I will just make the stupidest draft on the planet. And something I knew I wanted was a Trick Room mode. Now you might be thinking, what? You've picked Alecki and you're already thinking about Trick Room? Yes, because I don't want to just be a fast team and then lose to Trick Room. I want a Trick Room of my own, mode of my own. I like having that option. So, and there was a duo that I was looking at. Well, there was a main Pokemon I was looking at, and I was like, okay, I want a Trick Room setter that can partner with this Pokemon. And there were a couple options. It's basically, I'm going for a ground type for my Trick Room Sweeper, that's physical, so I want to be able to Earthquake next to my Trick Room setter. So it kind of left me between, like, Uxie and Mesprit, which were definitely options, or the one I ended up going with because it provided me a much better typing that I would have been finding difficult to add otherwise, Bronzong. Bronzong also gives me something a lot slower. It also now gives me Rage Powder Trick Room with Brute Bonnet and Bronzong, which is great. Bronzong, another Pokemon I surprisingly haven't used in draft, but it's surprisingly more versatile than you would expect. Which is really cool. Obviously, it's a great Trick Room setter. The typing makes it really annoying to take out. And Resist Berries usually make it so that there's almost no way this thing is going down. But also, like, it has utility outside of that. It can do decent damage with just, like, stabs, like Iron Head and, like, Zen Headbutt / Psychic or Psyshock or Flash Cannon. But it does still get, Iron Defense and Body Press. To kind of be a late game rune condition. Also, I guess Calm Mind as well. Gyro Ball, yeah, I shouldn't really forget Gyro Balls now, should I? Decent rock type moves as well. Skill Swap. If I want to skill swap my Alecki and make it immune to everything, that's, I guess, an option. I don't know. But yeah, overall, like, there's also, like, Gravity Hypnosis or just firing random hypnosis. I really don't want it to come down to that, but, you know, if I've got a spare move slot, I will just fire random hypnosises because I can. Helping Hand is actually pretty reasonable on this as well. So, but the main thing is it's a floating Trick Room setter. It's a great typing, it's got great bulk, it's slow, because obviously I don't have a Moongus, so having something at least pretty slow is nice. Though I don't think anyone actually even drafted a Moongus, so I've got the only Amoongus equivalent in Brute Bonnet, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, like having a really reliable Trick Room setter like this is really nice. It gives me the option to go slow. I've got a Alecki, so I'm incentivized to go fast. But if I think I am better off going for a slow mode, then I have the option. I've already got Rage Powder, Trick Room, with two decently slow Pokemon. Brute Bonnet can easily go slow for Trick Room. And obviously Bronzong's pretty slow as well. And I plan on picking a ground type Trick Room Sweeper to pair alongside it, so I can just spam Earthquakes. And then Bronzong can support that with either, like, damage reduction to, you know, stop damage coming in, or with, like, screens, or, like, Helping Hand, or just, like, be super annoying. Because Bronzong can do that. So, yeah. Really excited to use Bronzong. Again, another Pokemon I haven't used in VGC Draft. So, a lot of new Pokemon for me. I am going to quickly pull up the doc, because I actually can't remember what I drafted next. What was my next pick? Okay, yeah. So, going back down, I knew I wanted to fill out the, I knew I still wanted a Water type, but I also knew there was another type of Pokemon that I still wanted, because it really helps with a lot of types that I wasn't otherwise going to have a lot of things for. Basically I wanted a Fairy type, and well, it's been a long time, and certainly not the format I would expect to be bringing it back for. But we're bringing back Florges. So, those that know me know I love Florges, and this is the first Pokemon that I can confidently say I've used. But not in VGC. I've used it a ton in singles, but not in VGC. But it does have some things going for it in VGC, especially this generation. First of all, it can do Calm Mind stuff, which is grand. Calm Mind stuff is great. Chilling Water actually gives it a, coverage option. But also it gets Pollen Puff, which means it's actually pretty good at supporting as well. Helping Hand, Pollen Puff, Moonblast, Protect is a pretty realistic set. But also get some damage reduction stuff, things like Charm, which is pretty decent. But the main thing is it is a fairy type, and a decent one at that. It's super bulky, can kind of benefit from the electric speed control as well. If it's not bulky, I can make it fast. And what Timid makes it probably be able to outspeed like base, like Timid can actually outspeed probably. Can that get like? I can definitely get like base 130s, so that's like maybe an option. But yeah. The other thing as well, and while I haven't decided on this at the time, this is also a potential Teramon. I don't think I'm going to be making this a Teramon, though. While it's really good as a Teramon, because then it can just, like, it actually will get coverage, I plan on actually using my Tera points elsewhere, on even some lower tier picks, but I think that this isn't going to be one of them, because its type's already great. Like, Fairy's probably the best type in the game, or the maybe Steel. Like, these two are the two best types in the game, Steel and Fairy. And having them already is really nice. The grass coverage on the special side could be helpful as well, but probably not. Like I say, having Pollen Puff is great. Pollen Puff's such a big buff for Florges this generation. So I'm really happy to have Florges. It's a Pokemon I really like, and can benefit from the support that I already have. It's a middling speed Pokemon, so it can benefit from both fast and slower stuff, but also be offensive or supportive. There's a couple things it can do, and I'm happy to have Florges, so yay. Now, though, it's time for me to get that Water type, and I've been putting it off, because I thought I could get away with it, and I could, thankfully, because I didn't think anyone else would want it, and at this point I think I was okay grabbing this now, and that is my Water type of choice. Now, I knew that because of how my draft was looking, I knew it had to be fast, and that's why I wanted Inteleon. But there is another fast Water type that also happens to be a starter, and that is Greninja. So, I actually don't even know if Battle Bond's allowed. I think it might be, but I have no idea. We'll have to double check that. But Battle Bond's been changed anyway, so it's just you get like a +1 in attack and special attack, I think it is. Attack, special attack, and speed raised by 1 stage. Okay. So it's like a Giga Moxie. Now, instead of just being a transformation, which is, you know, unfortunate, but whatever. Mainly the Protein's great. Protein is kind of a pseudo Tera if you squint really hard, and can go physical or special, because its attack and special attack are both pretty similar, but also gets a lot of different kinds of utility. Haze is great. One of the things that I wanted was, with the fast Water type, is Icy Wind support, so Alecki doesn't have to be the speed control mon. Greninja can do it now instead. But yeah, the main thing is Greninja's utility is also fast Taunt user, which is really nice. And generally has a lot of... It's offensive, but also can be like utility based. Fling, for example, Fling King's Rock for a pseudo fake out is nice. Being able to change the type, even if it's only once, can be a big difference. Like I say, it can go physical or special. I doubt I'm going to be setting up hazards, I'll tell you that for free. I don't know, maybe a T-Spike, I don't know. But yeah, like, there's the options for this thing to go offensive or supportive, or it's going to be like a lead supportive taunt slash going to do damage, and often I think will be holding a focus sash and probably won't be doing as much damage as I want, but it can do a lot of damage if it needs to. Obviously it's got the Hydro Pumps and it can change into stab ice beams, so maybe I'm underestimating Greninja's output of damage, maybe I'm being realistic, but the thing is as well, like I say, it's fast, and I need something fast to pair alongside Lecky, because otherwise people aren't just gonna run. People just aren't gonna care about speed at all and just go slow. So I've already got some kind of middle to lower speed Pokemon. I need something fast, and Greninja's really good at that. It's a second Dark type, but Greninja's not really a Dark type. Greninja will almost immediately turn into something else. So yeah, I'm happy with Gren. I wasn't super keen on it, but I think it's not going to do quite the same thing I was hoping Inteleon to do, because I think Inteleon does a lot more damage. But I think the utility and being able to go physical or special is kind of nice. So there's that as well, which is great. So after grabbing this though, we've got a grass type, we've got a water type, and I've got my ice type in mind. And at this point, I don't think anyone's going to take it, so I'm pretty safe on it. So I'm going to go for my ground type. The ground type that I want to pair next to Bronzong. The whole idea behind this is, if I'm going to have a ground type, I'm going to want it when I'm not using a Lecky, and ground types are pretty good. So I figured that having a slow ground type that I would be using in Trick Room would probably be the way to go. And so my choice was none other than the Don. Donphan himself, the OG Donphan. I guess regular Tusk, as he's also known. This was surprisingly cheap. Donphan is still a pretty solid Pokemon. It can't really do physical oh no, it gets high spell. Never mind, I'm dumb. But it still gets a lot of great coverage. Like, Donphan's always been known for having pretty solid coverage. With the, the Seed Bomb, Ice Spinner / Ice Shard, knockoff's great. Gunk Shot, for some reason, why do you get Gunk Shot? But it gets a lot of really solid coverage. You get any weird moves? Heavy Slam is not bad, honestly. Though I don't think you're that heavy. But just the random amount of coverage that this Pokemon gets is really, really nice. And the fact that this is going to be one of my Tera captains. I'm going to be having a lot of Tera points spare, I'm going to tell you that right now. Because this is 8 points, and my other two are not, are like equal or lower than Donphan in points. But I wanted something that was, like, I'm going to have something that's usable in a fast mode that can Tera, and this is going to be something usable in a slow mode that can Tera. So it can change into an offensive or defensive type, whether it needs more damage on one of its, like, offensive moves. Maybe it goes like Tera Grass, or Tera Fairy, or Tera Dark, something along those lines, just to do even more damage, or just like Tera Water, or something that means I don't die to ground things that are ground types are weak to, like water or grass or ice. I don't know. There's like options, right? There's a lot of options to keep this thing alive and have it dealing good damage. Obviously Sturdy is a great ability to have as well. It can be super bulky with an Assault Vest, or just like dealing a lot of damage. Even like Soft Sand Earthquake is going to do a good amount of damage, or just go with high horsepower for the physical stuff. It can go Trailblaze. It's a similar speed to Brute Bond, it's a little bit slower. The Brute Bond is 55 and then Donphan's 50. So it's not the slowest Pokemon for Trick Room, but that's where Bronzong helps, because Bronzong is slow. It's got that 33 base speed, so that kind of helps us out a little bit in having some more slower stuff for Trick Room. So we've kind of got, like, slow stuff, but then we're building up our mid-speed stuff with Florges, and we've got our high-speed stuff with Greninja and Regieleki. And because of Regieleki, we can also make this super bulky. So yeah, I'm excited to use Donphan. Similar to Greninja. Never use Greninja. Never use Donphan. Definitely, especially not in VGC draft. So I'm really excited to use both of these Pokemon. We'll see how Greninja goes. Actually, no, I had Greninja in Season 1 of UBL, actually. And then I dropped it for Decidueye. Yeah, that's what happened. And our music's already run out. That's why we've got secondary music. So, I'm gonna turn it slightly as well. So yeah, Donphan, happy to have it. And hopefully this will kind of solidify our Trick Room mode of the team. But now that we've got our kind of Trick Room mode, we can focus on the faster stuff. And a Pokemon I was really excited to use. When we kind of did the mock draft, there was one Pokemon that really stood out to me, and, well, two actually. They're kind of in the similar category of, they're not great, but they've got a good base stat total. And I think, if used properly, they could be a lot better than maybe they would be otherwise. And those actually go down to the legendary birds. Now, Zapdos is obviously great and amazing and all that, but both Articuno and Moltres were a bit on the lower tier, and I chose, because I've already got a grass type and because I've already got a water type, to grab Moltres. Moltres kind of gives us our, like, the perfect mid-speed tier Pokemon that goes with a Lecky, because 90 base speed is great, 125 special attack is brilliant, Flame Body, amazing ability, and it gets a lot of great utility and offensive potential. It can both flamethrower slash heatwave. It should, yeah, heatwave, hurricane, or just nuke off with like overheat if it doesn't need to do a lot of offensive pressure. Maybe air slash if it needs to. But the main thing is it gets tailwind, and it's like cool. So I've got a Lecky, I've got Greninja for forms of speed control, but now I can also use or match a Tailwind, because I've got Moltres, and Moltres is our second Pokemon that's going to be Tera-ing. Moltres is always going to be a Tera captain for me, because I think Moltres with Tera makes it so much better, because suddenly it doesn't just die to a Rock Slide, you can make it resist that Rock Slide, or just have a generally good defensive typing, alongside giving it Terra Blast, or you can go offensive with it, and just start nuking things with like Heat Waves slash Flamethrowers if someone's really weak to fire. U-Turn, obviously great pivoting, Will-O-Wisp is a great damage control. I think that's really about it. It doesn't get too much else, but like the fact that it could just go like, it could go 3 attacks like Fire, Flying, Terra, Blast, whatever, Protect, or just like have Tailwind as an option, Helping Hand as an option, depending if it needs Flying or Fire coverage, or the defensive typing, whatever it needs to do. And the thing is, with giving this thing Terra, it's got the stats to just like do whatever it needs to. It needs to be bulky, you got it, it's pretty bulky, and then can still deal pretty good damage. Or you need it to be offensive, boom, it's got pretty decent speed stat, and especially with a Lecky or Gren support, it can get that speed off and or use that speed to its advantage, or get off a Tailwind. So yeah, I'm really excited to use Moltres. I think Moltres is a low-key sleeper pick on this team, and I'm really excited to use it. I'm really excited to use Moltres. I've used Galarian Moltres in draft, but not regular in singles or in doubles. I've not used it either, I don't think. So really excited to use Moltres. So yeah, it's Moltres. Now we come to our 8th pick, and this is, I wanted to grab this one because I knew what my last pick was going to be, and at this point no one else was going to take it, so I figured I'll get my last Pokemon that would be a last pick because it's the lowest tier pick, but I figured I'd grab it now. And that is Mismagius. So originally, when I had Inteleon in the draft plan, then I would have gotten Medicham here, but instead we get Mismagius. So Mismagius does have some different utilities. First of all, a Ghost type is not a bad thing to have. It can do a good amount of damage, like its stats aren't bad. Like, the base 105 speed really helps bridge the gap between Moltres and Greninja, which is really nice. It's also another Levitator that can pair next to Donphan. So we've got 3 ground immunities. I've just realized this. Like, we're really good against ground types. We've got 3 ground immunities. We've got a Brute Bonnet. Greninja can do a lot of damage to it. And a Pokemon that you haven't seen yet. So, yeah, we're looking good against ground types, which really helps, obviously, Alecki. But yeah, Mismagius has a lot of options. It can do really good damage with a ton of different coverage options. It has Icy Wind, Mystical Fire is not too bad. It has Will-O-Wisp as well. It can Perish Song as well. I don't know if Perish Song is like around it. Yeah, Perish Song as well. So for if anyone that has Dondozo and Tatsugiri, I at least have Perish Song for that, which is cool. Do you get Imprison Trick Room? No, you don't get Imprison Trick. Oh, you do. You do get Imprison Trick Room. That's really nice. So yeah, Imprison Trick Room in case I want to be going fast. But the other thing as well is this going to be one of my Terramons. So yeah, my 3 Tera captains are going to be Donphan, Moltres, and Mismagius. For reference, you can have 25 points worth of Terramons. I'm only using 19, because Donphan was 8 points, Moltres was 8 points, and Mismagius is only 3. So I'm not using a lot of my Tera points, I'm just using them for Pokemon that I think work the best on my team with Tera. So, Mismagius, I don't know how often it's going to come to games, but it's genuinely not a bad Pokemon, and I can see it having application in some games, especially with Tera. Because, like, if there's a reason for me to bring, like, just this offensive coverage beast, that something else can't really do, especially with Tera in mind, then, you know, that's an option. Obviously, Destiny Bond is great, Fake Tear is not a bad option, Helping Hand, like, it's got again, it's a good Pokemon with a lot of good utility moves, but also can do a lot of damage. And I think that's kind of a lot of the basis of this team, is, you know, Pokemon that, other than, I guess, Donphan, it's a Pokemon that could do a lot of damage, while also having supporting options. So even if every single Pokemon I bring every single week is 2 attacks, 2 support moves, that's still great. So it's still a lot of versatility. So, really like Mismagius as an option. And also, I've found a team of a bunch of special attackers, which I didn't think I'd ever do. Something I didn't expect to do, because Alecki is mostly a special attacker. It can go physical, with like Wild Charge and Extreme Speed and maybe some acrobatic shenanigans. But it's mostly special. Florges is special. Greninja's mixed, but mostly special. Moltres is special. Mismagius is special. So we actually have a lot of good special attackers. Also, Bronzong can be special sometimes as well. So, yeah. Normally I have trouble finding special attackers I like, but this time, we actually did it. So, yeah, really happy with Mismagius, like I say. This is going to be my 3rd and final Tera captain. And hopefully we get to see some Mismagius, because I would love to see Mismagius do some work. I don't know if it's going to, but it would be cool to see. And that leaves us with our final pick. I have been leaving our final pick till the end, which is the Ice type. To go over our points, Alecki cost 20, it was the highest amount, which I think could have been 19, but, you know, well, it's fine. Brute Bonnet was 16, Bronzong was 14, Florges was 10, Greninja was 14, could have been Inteleon at 12, but, you know. Donphan at 8, Moltres at 8, and Mismagius at 3. If I got Inteleon over Greninja, then this could have been a Medicham, which would have been really nice, because then I want to add Fake Out Pressure, but whatever. But this means that I actually still have a decent chunk of points left over to get one big bad boy. Another Pokemon that I got on that mock draft team when we were testing the drafts, and probably the best Ice type in the game currently, Excalibur. Even without Tera, this thing's a monster. Being immune to Will-O-Wisp as a way to reduce its damage output on a 145 attack point Pokemon with decent bulk due to its HP, but then can invest in defenses. A great speed tier to be pairing with Tailwind and 2 different forms of speed control in Aleki and Gren, and you're looking at a threat. It also really benefits from, I don't know, redirection, perhaps. So, yeah. So we can set up DDs. I think you can Swords Dance as well. Yep. Swords Dance plus Ice Shard can go crazy. Blade Rush will be doing a ton of damage. Or just, you know, hitting things super hard. This thing can hit things incredibly hard. And also, it's really good at spamming Earthquake, which is great, because I've got a million things that are immune to Earthquake. This is probably the strongest Ice type in the game right now. Glastrier was an option, but that would have meant I was going to be using it probably less likely next to Aleki. Whereas this, I can use next to Aleki and start just bopping things, because that's what Baxcalibur does. With that 145 attack stat, give me a physical move. Give me a nice Icicle Crash. That if I miss, I'm gonna cry. Boom. Give it an Adamant Agent. Boom. 216 attack. It hurts. It also fills out my Fairy Dragon Steel core, which is great. So I've got Fairy Dragon Steel and Fire Water Grass, which are 2 great typing cores. So, yeah, Baxcalibur can also run a wide variety of items. A lot of Pokemon here can run a wide variety of items. Some are going to be a bit more, like, conventional, and others, like Greninja's going to run Focus Sash a ton of times. There's a ton of Pokemon that are going to want, like, Citrus Berries, or maybe even a Resist Berry for, like, Bronzong. There might be some Focus Sashes thrown around. Obviously, Protosynthesis is great on Brute Bonnet. Not Protosynthesis. You know what I mean. Booster Energy. That's the only Pokemon on my team that can use it. Yeah, Bax can just go, like, banded with speed control. It can just, like, have a bulky item, just to allow it to set up a DD alongside, you know, screens. We've got screens, we've got redirection, we've got speed control, and that all supports Bax. Bax will be bopping things, and that is one of the big hopes, because without having Tera on Aleki, having no Ice-type coverage on it is kind of sad. But Baxcalibur certainly helps make up for that, and with speed control, just all the support kind of culminates in Baxcalibur being, like, the perfect fit. All the different forms of, like, keeping Bax alive and getting it to outspeed and kill things really helps. This, alongside Donphan, are kind of the only Pokemon on the team that don't really support anything else, but just do good damage. But the rest of the team is kind of built in a way that allows these Pokemon to shine more than they would otherwise. Because we've got Brute Bonnet, which can support any way it wants to, but also do good damage. And then Aleki or Bronzong can go on the supportive role to protect the Donphan or Baxcalibur on the fast or slow side, well, Aleki going with the Bax and Bronzong going with the Donphan. Those are just generally good Pokemon, like Florges. Moltres can kind of fit onto anywhere. It prefers to be fast, but it can kind of fit onto just a bulky offense-style team. Florges can kind of fit anywhere. Mismagius will probably be a more fast, or I guess utility kind of team, like one that has a bit more of a gimmick, I would guess. Or just maybe it has use in some certain mashups that not really anything else does. So, like, the whole team kind of meshes well, I feel like. Going back to the doc, we can go over to my page now and see the whole thing. This is our team. The Everton Espeons back at it. For our 10th season in UBL. Crazy to think about. But our whole team is here. I don't know if there's going to be any way to show which ones can Tera. But it's not the end of the world. I think we might be able to change something about, like, the colored boxes, because, you know, I can actually edit this doc. But yeah, let me see if I can get it up on the other the ball hawk dog, because I have it up on the ball hawk dog just to kind of show a bit more of an in-depth breakdown. But there we go. So yeah, really solid speeds overall. Like, we've got, like, speeds look a bit janky with Alecki generally, but this gives us some really nice just jump points throughout. It's got like Alecki speed, and then something really fast, something pretty fast, something decently fast, and then we kind of go to the mid-ground section, and then low speeds. So despite it being an Alecki team, it has slow stuff that can work in Trick Room. Type matchup chart looks amazing. The only thing is fairy, but that's because of Greninja, and if Greninja changes type, it doesn't matter. So the team leans towards more physical, but that's partly due to Gren being able to go for mixed, and Moltres for some reason having 100 attack. But overall, really happy with this team. I think it can do a lot of work. I think it's gonna be a difficult one to pilot, but I'm excited to do so regardless. So that is the team. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.